This is a repeating question which I get from a lot of designers who are starting to learn, which is how soon before I can start making money from this? How soon before I can start freelancing? And depending on who you ask, your answers are going to be very different. The traditional answer, which you might get from a lot of established designers in the field, is how can you even think about making money at this point? You've just gotten started. You're still learning. Spend time learning, at least 6 months, a few years before you start doing freelance. Usually when people speak about things like this, it's from personal experience. It's things that have worked well. So in this video, I'm going to show you an alternate viewpoint, which is what I happened to do when I started learning. Back in college, me and a couple friends of mine, we started this small business, which was we were selling laptop skins. Everybody in our college had the exact same laptop, and we would design these skins, print them out, and we would actually physically go sell them. And eventually we started doing t-shirts, we started selling this at fests. Me, I was just the guy who would manage the money, do the finances, but eventually I started wanting to get into design, and this was first year of college. So by the start of my second year, I started learning Photoshop. And within a few months, actually exactly within 2 or 3 months, I started doing freelancing. And within those 6 months, I made about $300. This is just some perspective to help you understand that in this playing field that we're in, which is learning skills online by yourself and trying to make money freelancing or just using the internet to leverage your career, there are no rules. So when you were in college, for example, you need to do your first year. There's only certain classes you can take, second year, then third year. And by the end of third year, you can sit for campus placements. And then fourth year, you get a job. But this job is defined only by the companies that come to your college. And you can only get into certain companies if you have a certain GPA. And then even based on that, there are some averages and your salary is going to be decided by this. So that traditional way of thinking can make you feel like you don't have control. You don't have any say over how much money should I make, what is acceptable at this point. And what I want to tell you, if there's just one thing that you take away from this video, it's that there are no rules. You can do whatever you want. If you want to start making $100 a month, that's your goal, totally doable. You want to start making $1,000 a month, also doable. You want to start making $100,000 a month, I'm not saying it's impossible, because if you think about it, design as a skill, UI UX design, is designing products, designing software, and teaming up with the right developer and actually building your own software. You're in the perfect position to do that as a designer, because you can visualize, conceptualize, and quickly make screens for anything you can imagine. So technically, if you're a designer, moving to an entrepreneur role is very easy for you. $100,000 isn't a lot. $1 million, it's hard, but it's not impossible. That's the only thing I want you to take away from this video. Now I'm going to talk about my first 3 projects. By no means were these $1 million projects. The first one was $15, second one was 100 something, third one was closer to 200, I think. So let's get into it. So the first project that I did was for a popcorn company. So I just logged into Upwork, I had made my account, and for about a month or 2, I had no activity. So Upwork, back then it was called odesk.com, is a site where you can go and create a freelancer profile, say this is what I know, and you can start applying to jobs that sort of match the skills on your profile. Now I did this, I applied to a lot of jobs, and of course you don't get them because your profile is empty. You have nothing to show. So eventually I came across a job posting by some dude, and he had given the requirements for his job in the description itself. So what I did was, he wanted a logo. I made a quick mock-up of that logo and I sent it along with my proposal. And then he sent me a message saying, that's good, that's not exactly what we're looking for, but I've sent this challenge out to 5 or 6 freelancers. And if you can do it, I want to just close this within the next day or 2. I was like, sure. And this was for a popcorn company. Now, it's an odd project to have for the first thing, but I was trying to do whatever I wanted. Not UI design, not UX. I probably didn't know at this point what UI UX design was. I just wanted to make things look good. That was my intention. So this project, popcorn company, we went back and forth. I sent him a few designs. He had sent me a screenshot of a website he had got probably another freelancer to do. Not a very good freelancer, but he did that. I sent it back and forth and he was like, okay, that's it, we're done. Here's $15. Now you might expect me to say, wow, that was the first moment ever I knew I could make money online, but it was $15. In Indian rupees at the time it was about 750 rupees. So I was like, okay, there is something here, but let's try to push this further. I think sometime in the next month, I got through to this project, which was for the cover design of a CD for a Christian rock band for kids in Australia. And what happened this time was, this guy had given his requirements in the details. So what I did was, I quickly made a mock-up. I designed a basic CD case, and then I put this as a mock-up on iTunes or something like that. He saw this and he was like, that's good. Let's do a small test project, which is, we'll give you about 6 hours. And we want you to come up with something which is closer in this direction. You've done something, but that's not exactly what we wanted. This 6-hour thing was a test to see if I was the right freelancer for this job. Because at this point, my profile had one project on it, which was a $15 logo. So there was no guarantee that I could be trusted or I had the skills. What I then did was, I made it within 5 to 6 hours. You can set an hourly rate on your profile. So when applying for a job, you can either say, this is the fixed price for this thing, or you can say, I want an hourly price. And I think my hourly price was something like $6 or $8. So 6 hours, that was $50 for me. And I was like, okay, I'm totally cool even if this doesn't go forward. But he loved it. He said, this is good. You're pretty creative. You're able to experiment with all the directions I want. And let's take this forward. So within the next 2 weeks, I started doing more. And he didn't have any limitations on how many hours put in. He was like, you're good. I am okay spending money for something that I like. Just please take this direction. This is my input. Every once in a while, he would tell me things to change, and we did that. And this was the total billing amount. So I got about $180 from that. And it was about 2 weeks. Every day after classes, I would go to the library, I would sit down and I would work on this thing. And that was a great feeling, because $180, that was at the point close to 10,000 rupees. And I was like, this is working. How do I scale this up? So this guy loved it. This was the final product that we came up with. This was completely done in Photoshop. You can see there's a lot of background layers. There's a lot of shit happening here. This took a shit ton of iterations. I wish I could take you through them, but I don't have the files anymore. And then my third project was actually the first project ever that I did, which was closer to what I'm doing today. UI UX design, designing apps. Now this project, in the description, he had said he was looking for somebody who could do a basic wireframe for an app that he wanted. I felt confident applying to this job because I knew Photoshop, and since it was wireframes, I knew it didn't really have to be a final product, a real usable app. It was just wireframes. So I was like, I'll do my best. I'll make these wireframes look as good as possible. So I applied to that. And this was one of the jobs I could actually pull my letter from. You can see that there's a lot of lies in this. But basically what I said was, yo, I'm a digital usability analyst. This is what I do. I've done this kind of shit before, iOS, Android, human interface guidelines. I know my shit. Just a lot of signaling to say that I am the one who can do this for you. Despite the fact that I have only 2 jobs in my profile. I worked about 20 or 30 hours on Upwork till now. But I am the right person for the job. And my last 2 jobs were total 5 stars. So you can see these were the reviews that I got for my work. So this guy, he actually replied. He said, yo, that's cool. And what he sent me was an Excel sheet, or I think it was a PowerPoint, or maybe a Google Doc. But it was just a description. So he said, screen 1, this is what it should be. This is what it should be like. Screen 2, this is what you should do. Screen 3, they should select the address and then they should do this. So I just got started. So in Photoshop, I started doing these. I started mocking them up. And in the end, this maybe took about a month or a few weeks. But this is what it looked like. Now this is the presentation. I'm just going to go through some of the slides. And you can see that this sucks. To be plain and clear, this sucks. This design is terrible. But it was wireframes. And from my perspective, right, when you think about this and when you're like, I'm not good enough, how can I do something for a client when it's shit? Isn't that doing them a disservice? But if you think about it from the perspective of the client, he or she wants a certain job done. They don't have the skill set for it. And they have a limited budget. They're not a funded startup. It's just one dude who's trying to get an app off the ground, for example. They just want somebody who can get the job done at a price that they can afford, so that they can use that progress to then figure out what to do next. So at any point, there's a lot of people out there looking for people at every different level to do certain things that they can't do themselves. And when you start freelancing, when you start building your skills, you can quickly become better than the average person at doing a certain thing. So let's say even if it's posters, the average person cannot make posters. Maybe they can use Canva, but that is also maybe limited. Maybe they're not comfortable. Maybe they don't even know what Canva is. But just spending a month learning to do posters, you can actually give a valuable service to somebody, let's say, who's running their store. They want to run a sale. This is like a mom and pop store in the US, for example. And they can't do it themselves. They're like, okay, I don't mind spending $20 for this. What is $20? That's like one sale for me. They would be happy to pay you as long as you get the work done. That's what it was. Amazing reviews. This guy loved it as well. And these were my first 3 projects. I didn't want to talk about the rest because I don't think that's the real learning here. The real learning here is today, odesk.com is called upwork.com. You sign up there, it's actually harder to get in because they review applications and they don't let beginner freelancers in. Does that mean you can't do this anymore? The point is, these opportunities exist everywhere. It's in your real world. There are shops around you that want shit done. Signages, posters, anything. Online, you go to any brand's Instagram account, like decent sized brand, they're probably paying an intern or 2 to get some stuff done. That is freelancing. It's temporary work. Any website where humans gather, humans have problems, they need something. Now, the real learning of the video is that there are no rules. So one of the metaphors that we use to describe stuff in Pyjama Profit is that, like, when you think about the economy, what do you think of? You think about this abstract concept, money being exchanged, you think about stock exchange, things like that. But when you look online, or even when you look in real life, let's say you're at a traffic stop and you see cars running. At that point, every car is burning a certain amount of fuel. The certain amount of fuel being consumed, which costs money, and it's just dissipating. It's just in the air, it's being used, and that's okay to them. When you're at a cafe, every minute you sit there, the AC costs something. The baristas, they're paying them, it costs something. And exchange of money is happening at every single second. Now, the way you can imagine this is that even online or in real life, there's a river. It's money. You can take as much as you want out of it. But to do this, you have to give value to that person. If you're taking $20 from this river, the person who's holding that $20, you have to give them something that's worth more than $20 to them, and they'd be happy to give you their money. So you can take as much money as you want. It's just you have to figure out how do you as an individual create more value for people. And that's exactly what freelancing is about. That's exactly what the skills, these new age skills, we call them Pyjama categories in the book. Things like development, content writing, design. That's what they're all about. You are an entrepreneur. You are in charge. You are the product. You have to figure out how your skills apply to somebody else. Whether it's Instagram, whether it's Reddit, whether it's Upwork, there are real people there who have real problems. Send them DMs, do anything. But if you think there are rules, you're going to be doing what everybody else is doing. And if you do what everybody else is doing, you're going to get the same results that they are, which is nothing at all, because it just gets divided amongst everybody. If you want to get extraordinary results, if you want to make an amount of money that not everybody is making, you have to do things that nobody else is doing. What are these things? It changes over time. These are trends, these are best practices, and by the time you hear about them, they're probably too late. So what you need to do is you need to get out there, you need to put yourself out there, and you need to experiment with a lot of different things. So even on Instagram, for example, you have a page, you have a profile. Send DMs to as many people as you can. Sending DMs is free. And you never know, because with these things, even on Upwork, for every 10 or 20 applications I would send out, I would get maybe 3 responses, and then 0 people would actually give me the job. Maybe it was 1 every once in a while. But it's a numbers game. The more you do, the more you learn about how to pitch yourself and how to understand what clients want and how to align what you're saying with what's already in their head. And it's a numbers game. The more you do this, the more likely it is that you start getting these jobs, you start making money. And this is true for any opportunity online. Whew. So hopefully that was a good video for you. Hopefully that gave you a few ideas of things you should do, things you might want to do, things you had at the back of your head but weren't really executing on. If you want to read the full story of how I got into freelancing, how I would recommend others, you can read Pyjama Profit. I will be making more videos about it in the future, but if you can't wait, this is on Amazon right now, you can check that out. If I gave you value in this video, if you found this useful, press the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and share this with a friend. I don't want to become a motivational speaker, but if this motivates you, then I'm all for it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.